You ever step into a room and feel it? That heavy, charged silence, where you just know every eye is fixed on you, waiting to see you fall? That was me on a Tuesday morning, walking into a packed courthouse. The place felt like a theater, and I was the poor fool everyone expected to watch get steamrolled. Across the aisle sat Karen Whitfield, legs crossed, dressed to the nines in a tailored power suit, every strand of hair in place. She looked like she was auditioning for some reality TV show, whispering to her high-priced lawyer like the whole thing was already a done deal. The smug curl of her lips said it all. Asterisk, this rancher doesn't stand a chance against the mighty HOA. Asterisk, and I'll admit, a small part of me wanted to laugh right then and there. But another part, the stubborn, battle-worn side that spent decades in boardrooms, courtrooms, and the occasional bar brawl, knew better. I wasn't about to hand her that satisfaction. The judge, a no-nonsense fellow named Morrison, called the court to order. His voice echoed off the walls, slicing to the hum of whispers. First thing out of his mouth, "Did I have a lawyer?" I stood up slow, adjusted my tie, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "Your Honor, I'll be representing myself." You should have seen the flicker of amusement on Karen's lawyer's face. A kid named Bradley Cooper, fresh out of law school, probably thought he was God's gift to litigation. He smirked, like he'd just been handed an easy win. Poor guy didn't realize that confidence without experience gets eaten alive in rooms like this. The judge nodded, asked me to state my background for record. So I did. Thomas Mitchell, retired attorney, 35 years in property law, bar member since 1987. And just like that, the smirk slid off young Bradley's face like butter off a hot biscuit. Karen's expression went from smug to stunned so fast I half expected her to faint. But let me back up. See, life out at Cedar Ridge Ranch wasn't supposed to come with drama. After 35 years of wrangling with city slickers and courthouse politics, I bought that stretch of land, 100 acres of peace and quiet. It was meant to be a place where the only sound at dusk was the wind through the pines and my grandkids' laughter during summer visits. Old Jim Henderson, the fella I bought it from, made it clear as day, no HOAs, no entanglements, just pure, unspoiled land. And that Willowbrook Estates HOA, that circus was a good 2 miles off, hidden behind county land, and a line of ancient pines. As far as I was concerned, it could stay that way. And for a while, it did. First year was bliss. Sunsets that could make a grown man cry. Nights so still you could hear your own heartbeat. No busybodies, no nonsense. Just freedom. Then came October. Cool air, sharp enough to wake the dead. I was out fixing a busted fence when this pristine white Lexus rolled up my dirt road like it belonged there. Out stepped Karen Whitfield, hair perfectly coiffed, clipboard in hand, looking at me like I was a trespasser. "Excuse me," she called out, all prim and proper. "I'm Karen Whitfield, president of the Willowbrook Estates HOA. We need to discuss trail access for the community." She said it like she was offering me a gift, a winning lottery ticket. I wiped my hands on my jeans, walked up to the gate, but kept it between us. "Ma'am, this land isn't part of your HOA," I said, plain and simple. Her smile tightened, just a hint. "Well, that's what we need to discuss. The community believes a trail would benefit everyone." Like I was being selfish for wanting my peace. I told her again, clear as crystal, this ranch was never part Willowbrook, and it never will be. That's when I saw it, that glint in her eyes. This wasn't just a conversation. It was the start of a crusade. The next 6 months turned into a circus. First came the letters, each one looking more official than the last, demanding I show up at HOA meetings like I was one of her minions. Then came the bogus complaints. Noise violations, code violations, nonsense stacked on nonsense. County inspectors came out, shook their heads, apologized for wasting my time. She organized these so-called community walks, bringing folks right up to my fence so they could gawk, snap photos, and whisper like I was some sideshow act. But the Rayall kicker came that April. I woke up one morning, walked out back, and there it was. My gate's lock cut clean through, fresh tire tracks down my road, and brand new trail markers hammered right into my trees, like they'd claimed my land in the dead of night. I spent that whole afternoon tearing down those markers and called in a welding crew to put up a steel gate with concrete posts. I wasn't about to play games anymore. Threw up some security cameras, too. Best $100 I ever spent. And sure enough, a few nights later, who do I catch on camera? Karen Whitfield herself, bolt cutters in hand, sneaking onto my land with two of her HOA cronies, hammering up more markers at 2 a.m. Watching that footage, I felt a strange mix of disbelief and, I'll admit, a sliver of respect for the sheer audacity. I sent her a cease and desist, figured that it'd put an end to it. But no. Next thing I know, a process server's at my door with a lawsuit. Karen and her HOA were suing me for malicious obstruction, interference with community easements, and, get this, creating a public nuisance. They wanted $50,000 in damages and demanded I tear my gate down. I read that complaint twice. Couldn't decide if I was insulted or just plain entertained. She claimed historic use, implied easements, even tried to argue that my land use belonged to the HOA. Every bit of it was fantasy, but I knew one thing. If she wanted a fight, she was going to get one. And I wasn't about to bring a knife to a gunfight. So I went ahead and filed a countersuit, trespass, harassment, defamation, the works. By the time Tuesday morning rolled around, that courthouse felt more like a 3-ring circus than a hall of justice. Karen strutted in like she owned the place, flanked by her high-priced lawyer, 2 board members who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else, and some poor woman scribbling away for the HOA newsletter like this was front-page material. Karen even had the nerve to wear a shiny little president pin on her lapel, as if that would mean a damn thing to a judge. Judge Morrison, tough as old boot leather and with a look that said she'd seen enough HOA nonsense for 2 lifetimes, gave me a nod like she already smelled what kind of show this was going to be. And then it started. Bradley Cooper, no, not that one, Karen's fresh-faced lawyer, stood up and launched into what he must have thought was the speech of his career. Hands waving, voice smooth, he painted me as some cranky old hermit hoarding land and holding the poor, innocent community hostage. He talked about the greater good and how Karen was just trying to make the neighborhood a better place. Like she was some kind of hero. I let him have his moment, let him spin his little tale. And when it was my turn, I didn't raise my voice or wave my hands. I just laid down the truth, brick by brick. I showed them the deed from 1952, clear as daylight, the fresh survey from 2021, sworn statements from 3 generations of owners, all saying the same thing. No easement, no HOA involvement, no public access ever. Not once. Then I played the security footage. Karen and her little crew sneaking onto my property after midnight, bolt cutters glinting under the floodlights, hammering trail markers into my trees like they had any right. I handed over the stack of threatening letters, the bogus complaints she'd filed. And for the grand finale, an audio recording. Karen's voice, cold and sharp, telling her board, asterisk, I don't care if he owns it. We'll make his life hell till he gives in. Asterisk. The whole room went dead quiet. Karen looked like she'd swallowed a wasp. She tried to sputter something about community needs, but Judge Morrison wasn't buying. She turned to Bradley, leveled that stare at him that only judges can do, and asked, Do you have any proof? Any document supporting these claims? Bradley fumbled through his papers, mumbling about ongoing research, but it was no use. The judge raised an eyebrow. So that's a no. Then she looked at me. Mr. Mitchell, do you wish to pursue your counterclaims? Yes, Your Honor, I said. Damages, legal fees, and a permanent restraining order. That's when Karen lost whatever grip she had left. She shot to her feet, her voice shaking, and said, You can't do this. I'm the HOA president. Judge Morrison didn't even blink. She slammed her gavel, so hard it echoed off the walls. Sit down, Ms. Whitfield, or I will hold you in contempt. I couldn't help it. I grinned. And for the next 20 minutes, I watched as the judge tore Karen's case to pieces. Every one of their claims? Dismissed. My countersuit? Granted. She hit Karen with $15, 000 in damages, $5, 000 in legal fees, and that permanent restraining order. But that wasn't the end of it. The judge referred Karen for possible criminal trespass charges and gave Bradley Cooper a not-so-gentle reminder about state bar ethics. By the time we walked out of that courtroom, Karen was surrounded by her own board members. Their faces were red as tomatoes, their voices low and angry. Even Bradley couldn't look her in the eye. He slipped out the back like he couldn't get away fast enough. A few days later, I got a certified letter. Karen removed from the HOA board, banned for life by unanimous vote. The criminal charges stuck too. She pled guilty, ended up with a year of probation, and 500 hours of community service. Nowhere near any HOA business. 2 months after that, I got invited to speak at the state law school's continuing ed program. My topic? Asterisk when Karen attacks, a case study in HOA overreach. Asterisk that lecture went viral. My story turned into a warning shot for bullies everywhere. And the cherry on top? The HOA sent me an apology letter and a fruit basket. The new board wanted nothing to do with the mess Karen left behind. The money I won from that lawsuit, I donated every cent to a legal aid group that helps folks stand up to HOA abuse. They even named their new meeting room in my honor, the Whitfield Warning Room. Last I heard, Karen was working as a receptionist 2 states over. No more power trips, no more HOA crusades. Just another person trying to move on. So what do you think? Did I do the right thing fighting back? Or should I have just let it go? Ever had to square off against a petty HOA or stand your ground when folks told you just roll over? Share your stories. I'd love to hear them. Because justice? Well, it's a funny thing. What feels right in one neighborhood can feel like scandal in the next. And if you enjoyed this tale, give it a like, share it with a friend. Let's talk about what's fair, what's not, and where we draw the line in our communities.